questions. Finally, if you need to reach out to the Congresswoman's office for assistance, you can go to sewell.house.gov, or you can call the Birmingham office. That's at 205-254-1960. Again, that Birmingham office, 205-254-1960, or sewell.house.gov.
This ought to be fun.
I'll remind you how to submit questions in just a minute here. For now, it's my pleasure to kick off this live telephone town hall meeting. I'm turning it over to your Congressman, Terry Sewell. Representative, go ahead.
So this is a live town hall.
Sewell of Alabama's 7th Congressional District, and I want to thank you for joining us for our live telephone town hall. We have a great lineup of experts on the line. Joining me tonight is Dr. Scott Harris, Alabama State Health Officer, Scarlett Pierce, the manager at the Demopolis Career Center, and Dr.
Hopefully, if anybody joins, you can hear this.
Communications Officer for the Alabama Department of Education. First, I would like to start with a prayer from Apostle Joseph Hamilton, a pastor of the Zion Church in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay. Sounds like everybody should be able to hear it.
You are an amazing God. Tonight I lift up every participant on this call, that everyone's heart will be open for the ability to serve and support every need. Let every heart be open to support the cause to make America a God-fearing country. Because the only way to heal the land is through humility and submissiveness to your will, God, and the spirit of prayer. Tonight, God, you work through every heart to bring a positive change to our community and country. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So I just got this call.
Before we dive into the work that I'm doing in Congress, I want to share some very exciting news. I am proud to announce that this year's annual job fair will be in Selma, Alabama, and it will be our 11th job fair. Since coming to Congress, I've made it my mission to...
You have been placed in line to ask the speaker a question. This call may be recorded.
Annual job fair is one of the most important events we host all year. This year, the job fair will be on Thursday, August 4th.
So apparently we're in line to ask a
at
question.
the Wallace Community College Gymnasium from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's August 4th, Thursday, August 4th in Selma at the Wallace Community College Gymnasium from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It will bring together employers from 10 different industries: automotive, restaurant and food management, transportation and construction, hospitality and retail, health services, utilities and telecommunications, manufacturing, staff agencies, government agencies, and law enforcement, to name a few. Each year I alternate between hosting the job fair in an urban and a rural area to ensure that we're meeting the unique needs of each community. After last year's successful job fair in Bessemer, Alabama, which welcomed nearly 500 job seekers, I'm excited to
I think I'm muted on this. I just got a phone call. Hang on, let me turn this down just a second. I just got a phone call, didn't realize the number, and picked it up. And apparently it is a live town hall for one of my Congress critters in Alabama. So I figured I'd do a live stream and we would listen to this. And I'm in line to actually ask a question with her. So this ought to be interesting.
This year's job fair comes at a very exciting time. We recently learned that the United States is close to recovering all of its jobs lost due to COVID-19 pandemic. We also know that Alabama's unemployment rate reached a record low of 2.7% in May. This is exciting news, but we also know that we have lots of work to do because our district still had double the national.
Now, I haven't come up with a question yet.
As long as we
it's probably going to be about guns.
In our district, your congresswoman will continue to bring together employers and job seekers alike. That's why I'm so excited to be joined tonight by Scarlett Pierce, the site manager for Demopolis Career Center. Ms. Pierce, thank you so much for your critical work that you do every day to connect our people with open jobs in our communities. Talk to us about the kind of opportunities that are out there and how my constituents can take advantage of Thank you, Representative Sewell. Here in the Black Belt, many job seekers face barriers to employment, and the two that we see most often is lack of childcare and inadequate transportation. Living in a rural area, many job seekers must commute, and higher gas prices exacerbate that problem. But to assist our job seekers, we have 55 career centers, soon to be 56 with the opening of the new location.
What are you doing, child?
So we have 55 career centers.
First I got the cat in my lap, now I got the kid.
Job seekers can set up a free account to search for jobs. Our free online jobs database is alabamaworks.alabama.gov. And of course, this is free to employers and job seekers alike. Each career center also has a resource room with computers for job seekers to use on their own or with assistance from a career center staff. Trained career center staff also conduct a seated interview with each customer. We assess their work history, education, and skill set, and then we make referrals to those available jobs. We also provide private and group workshops on topics from anything to basic computer skills to resume prep.
Can you guys hear this okay? I realize it's coming through my headphones.
Update your resume before the big job fair. Visit a career center, and a career center staff can set you up with that. We also do schedule mock interviews with feedback and tips to help you land that job. If during that seated interview it's discovered that you need some additional training, we have the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which is better known as WIOA. WIOA funds several programs like work-based learning for youth who need initial work experience, on-the-job training, which is an employer reimbursement program.
I'll apply to be a regional warlord.
Receive up to 50% of wages to offset those training costs for up to 6 months. We also, Career Center staff works with the Alabama Office of Apprenticeship.
You got your
to
hippo.
enroll qualified job seekers in a registered apprenticeship. We have our most popular WIOA program seems to be an individual training account, which is funds set aside for an individual to attend a community college or a private training provider in fields like truck driving or nursing, which are two of our high-wage, in-demand jobs. So if an individual qualifies for those programs and adequate funding is available, that WIOA process is initiated.
Tired.
We also have
Politicians make me tired too.
adult education, which is provided through our community college system. If you need a GED, there's help with that preparation. We also have veterans. We partner with veteran services.
Yeah, this was so not planned.
Rehab services. I'd also like to tell you about the federal bonding program. It's a free service and it gives employers access to more job seekers and opens doors of opportunity for job seekers with barriers to employment. People who were involved in the justice system, or maybe recovering from substance abuse, or maybe you just have a poor credit history. So it's free. There's no application. There's no no signature for employers. You just contact.
This is a live town hall, guys. I just got a call for this.
Your local career center. I urge each of you to visit our website, alabamaworks.alabama.gov, or better yet, visit your local career center and find out what we can do for you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Representative Sewell, I'm going to take a brief moment here to remind our participants on the line how they can participate in our forum before we go to our next guest. So folks who may have just joined us, you can press 0 to submit a question for Q&A.
Yeah, I pressed 0.
Questions in the queue, and I'll be reading those over the air and asking Representative Sewell and her guests to answer those questions in just a few minutes here. You can also give us your email address to get email updates from Congresswoman.
So should I ask what she plans on doing about gun violence?
7 to give us your email.
I think that might be the question.
Updates. And again, you can visit sewell.house.gov or call Birmingham office at 205-254-1960 if you need assistance. Congresswoman Sewell,
What are you doing, child?
Thank you. I want to also thank Scarlett Pierce.
I'll be interested to see whether they touch on gun violence in this town hall.
We started an initiative within the Congressional District of 7 called Project Ready, Realizing Everyone's Ability to Develop Yourself. It is an initiative whereby we provide the information about free services, like at the Career Center, where people can get their resumes.
I thought the last stream was the Share the Pain stream. I think this one might be more painful.
I just want to make sure that everyone knows and realizes that. And so I want to thank you, Scarlett, for helping us get ready for the job fair, which will be Thursday, August 4th, in Selma at Wallace Community College. Now I'd like to shift gears and talk about some of the work we're doing in Congress on your behalf, including our work to fight inflation. I know that so many of my constituents are feeling sticker shock at
You fell out of my lap, Cooper.
grocery store. And I want you to know that your congresswoman is working hard to bring down prices for families all across America, and especially in Alabama. Inflation is real, and it is an issue affecting people not just here in the United States, but all over the world. The single biggest driver of inflation is Putin's war against the Ukraine. It accounts for 50% of May's inflation report. Unfortunately, too many in Washington.
If I'd have known this call was coming, we could have turned it into a drinking game.
To find solutions to reduce the price at the pump. I want you to know that President Biden and Democrats in Congress have been fighting inflation, our top economic priority. I'm proud to be one of the many.
Yeah, we're going to have to ask what she's going to do about gun violence in America.
Common sense actions that will help to lower costs for average families. The Biden administration has already announced its release of more than 90 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve this fiscal year. I recently joined my colleagues in the House in passing several bills that will help.
This is going to be painful.
On June 16th, I voted for the Lower Food and Fuel Costs Act. This bill will lower costs for farmers and meatpacking industry in order to lower grocery prices for Alabamians. This bill will also lower costs at the pump by making unleaded 88 more available across this country. I also voted for the Consumer Fuel Price Gouging Prevention Act, which helps lower gas prices by cracking down on gas gouging at the pump.
Good evening. My name is Sean, I'm the operator. Can I get your first name, please?
First name is William. First name is William.
Hi there, William. And what city or town are you located in?
I am in Seal, Alabama.
All right. And what question do you have, sir?
I want to know what the Congresswoman plans to do about the rising gun violence in Alabama and what she intends to do about assault weapons.
That is a great question. Hold the line for one moment here, and she'll be right with you to discuss this a little further.
All right. This ought to be fun.
In almost 40 years. Last year, our GDP grew by 5.7%, the fastest rate since 1984. While I know all of us are focused on the economy and the rising price of gas and groceries, I know all of us want immediate relief. I want you to know that we're all working hard to make sure that we deal with these kitchen table issues that are so critically important. The single largest drop in unemployment rate in our history actually occurred last year. We currently are experiencing some of the lowest unemployment numbers to date.
What world do these people live in?
4 million new small businesses have been created, and we're experiencing historic deficit reduction. Next, I'd like to turn our attention to the implementation of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. As Scarlett said, one of the biggest drivers of unemployment is lack of transportation. And for years, members of Congress and presidents have talked about doing a big and bold infrastructure bill. Well, last year, we finally passed historic progress on America's rescue plan. And my colleagues and I also joined President Biden in enacting the bipartisan infrastructure law, which represented the largest investment in our nation's infrastructure in nearly a century. I'm proud proud to be the only member of Alabama's congressional delegation to vote in favor of this bipartisan infrastructure law.
Warsaw, here's your electric vehicle. Got a steering wheel and everything.
And it is definitely
Neat,
right
neat.
good vote to help this district and our nation improve its infrastructure. We know that Alabama's infrastructure has been in a state of disrepair for far too long. But with the bipartisan infrastructure law, we're going to repair our crumbling roads and bridges, address the blocked railroad crossings, invest in our water infrastructure to ensure that every family has access to clean drinking water and sanitary wastewater systems. Transform our public transportation system and ensure that Alabama families have access to affordable, high-speed internet, all while creating millions of good-paying jobs.
I wouldn't call it amused yet,
Coming into Alabama,
but I did get to ask a question she's supposed to answer me about what she's going to do about gun violence and assault weapons.
Over 5 years for roads, $225 million for bridges, $782 million for water infrastructure, and $100 million for broadband. Notably, the infrastructure law includes $14.2 billion for a new broadband affordable connectivity program.
Now, why do they want broadband in every home?
A discount on their monthly broadband services. To find out if your household is eligible for this benefit, you can go to affordableconnectivity.gov. That's affordableconnectivity.gov. Or you can contact your local.
While we're listening to the pain, let me advertise for Brownell's Arkansas stones that I just got in. I haven't even had a chance to use yet.
Plan that will address the myriad of issues that are occurring across this country, and we finally have it. I now want to take a moment to acknowledge the tragic and heartbreaking toll that gun violence is taking on communities
Here we go.
in Alabama and across the nation. As we know, the United States suffers from an epidemic of gun violence that is turning our communities into battlefields. This is truly a public health crisis, claiming the lives of over 40,000 Americans every year.
No, it's not.
It seems that you can't turn on the news without learning of another senseless tragedy involving gun violence. Guns are now the #1 cause of death for children and teens in the United States.
What up, Murphy?
Car accidents or cancer with guns. The toll that this crisis has taken on the people of our state is devastating. Alabama currently has the second highest rate of gun violence in the nation. Each year, an average of 1,090 Alabamians die and 3,442 are wounded for gun violence. This crisis is simply unacceptable, and we must do something about it. I'm committed to doing whatever I can to end gun violence. And to be clear, this is not about targeting responsible gun owners. This is about common sense measures that will prevent guns from getting into the hands of those who should not have them and save lives. In the wake of the horrific mass shooting in Uvalde and in Buffalo, my House colleagues came together to pass the Protecting Our Kids Act. This bill contained a number of common sense provisions, like cracking down on illegal gun trafficking, restricting large capacity magazines, raising the age to purchase semi-automatic weapons, and strengthening background checks. I also voted to pass the Federal Extreme Risk Prevention Order Act. This bill would help ensure that individuals who are dangerous to themselves or
it's a file set.
get their hands on dangerous weapons. Tragically, both of these common sense bills were blocked by our Senate Republicans. However, I was glad to see that both the Senate and the House, Republicans and Democrats, finally came together in a bipartisan agreement on gun violence prevention legislation, which passed Congress and was signed by President Biden last month. The bipartisan
that 17 is one of my babies.
Would support state crisis intervention orders. It would protect victims of domestic violence by closing the boyfriend loophole. It would create penalties for straw purchasing. It would provide $250 million for anti-violence community initiatives. It would crack down on criminals who illegally evade licensing and requirements and clarify with sellers the need to register and conduct background checks. It will also invest in mental health services for children and families. While this bill is not as robust as many of us had hoped, it is indeed a step in the right direction. It's worth noting that this is the most substantial act that Congress has taken to address gun violence in over 3 decades. Our work to end gun violence is far from over. Just this past week, we passed the Active Shooter Alert Act, which would create a system similar to Amber Alert to help Americans informed about active shooter incidents in their communities. Moreover, before the end of the month, the House will vote on a bill to ban the sale of assault weapons like AR-15s, which many of us know you don't need an assault weapon in order to kill a deer or protect your home or your person. I will continue to push for more action to help keep our communities safe. Now, great news on the front of historical preservation.
I already got one, Night Strike.
Many of you know, we have been working hard to get federal grants for historic preservation. This historic preservation will help preserve historic sites in our district, at the same time creating jobs and preserving the history of these amazing places. As a representative of Alabama's Civil Rights District,
it's an assault weapon.
My job is to represent not only those who live in our district today, but also the rich legacy of the foot soldiers and freedom fighters on whose shoulders we stand. That's why I was so excited to hear the news that we received $3.6 million to preserve civil rights sites in Alabama.
I wonder if they'll actually air my question and then touch on it, or whether that was her whole deal for my question.
St. Paul's United Methodist Church, $500,000 to upgrade Selma's historic Tabernacle Baptist Church.
Yeah, you don't need just an AR. You need at least an AK, couple of AKs, an AR.
In Montgomery. So many more. $3.6 million were given to civil rights sites to preserve in our district. I was also excited to announce most recently.
I need to build an AR in 6.5.
For 5 Alabama HBCUs.
Because 6.5 Grendel's pretty damn badass.
Alabama A&M, Stillman, and Selma University received $500,000 each to preserve historic preservation on their college campuses.
One of my guys has a couple 6.5 Grendels.
The National Heritage Area Act just passed the House of Representatives.
So that thing's a tack driver about 500 yards, hitting inside a quarter.
The bill would designate an area within 19 counties in Alabama's Black Belt as national heritage areas, freeing up additional resources and funding opportunities for residents of the Black Belt. As a proud product of America's Black Belt, and
why are we calling it the Black Belt? Did everybody in Alabama learn fucking kung fu?
I know that it's important that Senator Shelby and I continue to work to try to get this bill not only past the House.
Yeah, Murphy, my final project for SDI is going to be an AR-10.
Now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Scott Harris, the State Health Officer for Alabama.
Yeah, I'm going to do the AR-10.
We know that COVID-19 is still very much around, and
Nope.
would like to know an update about what we should do about it. And
No, they
also
still don't have the
share with us
1911.
the new variant and how we can keep ourselves and our communities safe. Dr. Scott Harris.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Sewell. Thank you for the invitation to join you tonight, and thank you for all that you're doing for our state.
Oh, yeah, dude, nothing with an AR-10 is cheap.
Continuing to see COVID, it is still with us. I know many people are tired of hearing about it and thinking about it, but unfortunately, it has not gone anywhere.
Yeah.
In the past couple of months, we have actually started to see increases in numbers of COVID once again. We are right now seeing around 2,000 to 2,500 new cases a day. That's a lot better than we were seeing back in January.
Oh, hell yeah, Toy Town, good deal.
Some days more than 15,000 cases.
What kind of fish did you catch?
But we also know that we're probably not counting all the cases now. There's so much.
Well, obviously the fish is going to be wet.
With the at-home test.
Unless you caught a flying
We
fish.
don't always have that information on those test results. So there probably are more tests that are positive than we are aware of. We are seeing the numbers of people in Alabama hospitals increase from the end of May, just over 2 months ago, when we had less than 100.
You got a gator tag. You're just being
in
lucky.
all hospitals in the state.
I did.
We now have.
Yeah, my wife got her alligator tag for this year, so we're going to be shooting some alligator footage here shortly, I hope.
So the numbers have increased quite a bit, although we're still a long way from the really
really high numbers.
Do you want to go for Smitty or do you want to go
back in January and February? Most
I
of
just have the name,
the
that's
cases
Stinky
we are
Creek.
seeing now are being caused by
Ottawa?
a new
No,
variant
not
of COVID that's known as
The
BA5.
one,
These variants are coming
There's
so
that big
often
one in
that
that
it's
little hole.
sometimes really hard to keep them straight. The most important thing about the new
We
variant
had-
is that it is
we hooked
easier
on
to
one
spread
with your
than
dad,
the ones that we have
and
seen
it pulled us
before,
into the
it's
reeds and
more
snapped off.
infectious, if you can believe that. Although
Oh, Hanahatchee.
Hatch, thank
causes
you.
a little bit
Oh, we'll
less
hit both of
serious
them, but
illness
yeah,
than
we'll be
some of
looking
the
for
ones that we
Smitty
have
too,
seen
because
before. So
I don't
thankfully,
think anybody's got his
that's
big
one,
ass.
silver lining, I suppose. However,
The
for
bluegill,
those people
3
who
years old.
were
Oh,
susceptible
hell yeah,
to
dude.
this because maybe they are seniors or because
That's
they
one of
have
the best
chronic
ways to get a kid
health
hooked on
problems,
fishing is
this
brain
still
fishing.
a very dangerous, very serious disease that we need people to take seriously. What we need people to do
Frying and flipping
is
fish in
really
the frying
the
pan.
same sorts of things that we've been talking about
I'll
for
read the
about 2.5
comment.
Oh.
years. It's very important to make sure you're vaccinated. That's the single most important thing you can do. to
Yeah,
protect
good luck with that,
yourself
homeboy. I
and
ain't touching that
protect
vaccination.
other people who are around you. Even though the vaccines don't work quite as well at preventing infection with these new variants, they still
Yeah, it'll be
do
cool.
an
Hopefully, we'll
excellent
get some good
job
footage of a gator hunt
becoming
this year.
seriously
That'll be
ill
freaking
or
cool.
dying. And so
We haven't got the
it
gator
is
hunt the
very
last couple of
important
years.
that people continue to get vaccinated if they've not done that yet. If you have already been vaccinated, then you need to consider getting boosted as well.
Oh yeah, South Carolina's got
Certainly for
plenty.
people over age 50 or for people that have chronic health problems, you should consider getting a booster about 5 months after you finish your first set of
I'm excited
vaccinations.
about it.
And then consider
Hmm.
getting a second
Pat was
booster about 4 to
excited
5
about it.
months after that first
The gator
booster.
hunt.
Travis
It's
too.
very important
You
now
coming
more
with
than
us?
ever.
Hell yeah.
As we're seeing cases that are
You know
starting
Cracker's
to,
gonna be there.
Go
Oh,
up
is it going to be big enough?
around the state and
Big enough
also
boat?
around the country.
If we're not in ours, we'll be in
By this
his.
fall,
Like that.
I think that we'll have
Well, he'll be there too.
more spread
Yeah,
even
that
than we are
would
seeing
be
now. By that point,
me,
many of
you,
the
and
people
2
who got
extras.
vaccinated or
Yeah.
who got boosted
Okay.
maybe months and months.
It's not
or
like we
even
have
a year
104
or
people
out
just
from
on
that
our boat.
vaccination or from that
Worried about
booster. So
Oh,
that will
coming
make
too.
them susceptible. So it's very important to
We hunt on
make
trails.
sure that your
That's easy
vaccination
enough.
is up to date. Also, please remember the same sorts of advice that we've given about getting together in groups of people. If you're going to be crowded indoors with lots of people, then please try to make sure that you're vaccinated. Hopefully the people you're going to be around are vaccinated. Wearing masks still makes a whole lot of sense in those situations, particularly for our vulnerable people like our seniors. And whenever you have the option, try not to spend time indoors in crowded environments. If you can do something outdoors,
Go away.
instead of
You might have the
indoors, that's
coof.
safer.
Fuck you.
If you can do something for a
Please.
short period of time instead of a long period of time, that's always going to be safer as well. So finally, I would just say people don't need to be alarmed or be frightened. But at this point, I think people should just continue to be smart. We all understand this disease very well now. We know the things that we need to do to protect
Yeah, Murphy,
ourselves.
dude, there's been a lot of people that have gotten that shot that are having heart attacks.
Thank you, Congresswoman Sewell.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harris.
I don't trust it worth a shit.
Dr. Michael Sibley from the Alabama Department of Education. As we know, the school year is fast approaching. Dr. Sibley, what should our
Oh,
parents
good
know
God.
about the upcoming school year? Are there things that our parents can be doing now to set their children on a path to success? And thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me, Congresswoman. Bringing greetings from our state superintendent.
A comment just popped up from HBS on one of my videos. Don't shoot your eye out.
Into our public schools within the next few weeks, right at about 750,000 students. That and about 50,000 educators that we depend on.
Yeah, Murphy, there's been a lot of that, man. There was a news story not too long back that was talking about that, but they didn't want to mention that all the ones that were having those issues and dying were all people who had the coof shot.
School year goes off without a hitch in terms of actually being able to stay in school. That is hugely important. If there's anything that we learned from the COVID experience last time, is that nothing beats in-person instruction, despite the valiant efforts of our teachers and
Go get another chair.
parents and students as well, who made accommodations to deal with the
That's
kids during
true.
the COVID crisis. fact of the matter is we need teachers in the classroom and we need students in the classroom. And the only thing that's more important to the State Department of Education than educating children is making sure that they're healthy so they can learn. So we know that in person is better. We also, you mentioned earlier, all of the efforts that you're taking, Congresswoman, on making sure.
So far, Bull, I don't think I've had the coof. I might have. I just.
The same old advice: if you see something, say something.
I don't run out and get tested every 5 minutes.
We're not paranoid, but we're paying attention to our surroundings. We at the State Department are making sure that we do what we can in terms of on several areas, both in terms of physical safety, in terms of social issues. We have
doing, woman?
Our mental health coordinators.
You're slipping out. You're folding my
now
clip.
that are helping students who are dealing with
Drop my
emotional
clip.
issues.
I dropped your clip.
Just want to make sure that people
So I didn't
are
drop your clip.
mindful of the fact that people are struggling. Some people are having difficult times. So be vigilant and look around. We also want to make sure that we encourage
Stealing
parents
pens
to
from work.
read with your children. We know that the Alabama.
Yeah, dude, all you guys that served got injected with a whole lot of shit. I think one of the anthrax vax you guys got hit with, DOD finally had to admit that it was one of the drivers of a lot of suicides for service members. And that story went on for about a week or so and then got buried. So
But it's been going on in classrooms. It is hugely important that our third grade class is reading on grade level. We are doing what we can to provide resources for school, during school, and after school. We're making sure that teachers are trained. We're making sure that parents have resources. We know that the coming school year, not the coming school year, but the next school year, the retention part of the.
You're being all kinds of lovey since you got a gator tag.
The child being held back if they're not reading.
It couldn't be possible because I actually had a decent day at work.
Third grade, so it's vitally important that
Because you got a gator
now
tag.
more than ever pool our resources, do everything that we can, and make sure literacy is the number one thing on our list, especially in terms of our young people. Although there are literacy efforts to help students in every age group throughout the state.
Yeah, Murphy, you guys got hit with a lot of stuff. Especially anybody who served in between 90s and probably 2000s. Yeah, you guys got hit with a lot of shit.
Ian, we're ready to.
Yeah, Gulf War syndrome.
I actually wanted to have the first question, if I could, taking a point of personal privilege. My question is to you, Dr. Harris. What is monkeypox, and how do we prevent it? And are there any cases in Alabama? I think that I heard 2 cases were there. But can you tell
You know how to prevent monkeypox? Don't go to fucking homosexual sex parties.
Variant, or what should we know about it?
Yeah, it's really been quite interesting. Monkeypox is actually a completely different disease from COVID. It's not related to COVID in any way. It just
You
happens
fucking
to be
think?
another disease that's popped up now and occupied our attention for the past few months. Monkeypox is a disease that looks a little bit like chickenpox. For people who may be my age or older, you may remember smallpox. It resembles and it is somewhat related to smallpox, although not as dangerous as smallpox. But it's a disease that we had almost never seen in this country or in many parts of the world. It was usually confined to the western part of Africa and sometimes showed up in people in that country, although it was very rare. But starting in about April or May of this year, the disease began to pop up in many places in Europe and now has shown up in pretty large numbers in the United States as well. It's an illness that people can catch from another person who has the disease, usually by close skin-to-skin contact.
Are we going to say where they were catching it?
It's been passed through people having sex, although in some cases it's been passed by people sharing clothing or sharing bed linen or items like that. It causes a rash, as I mentioned, that can look a little bit like chickenpox. It also causes fever and chills and headache and flu-like symptoms.
All right, Murph, take it easy, brother.
About 1,400 cases in the U.S. right now. It's not something that people need to be alarmed about for the average person. It's not something that you should.
Yeah, Night Strike. I'll probably be in your chat here in just a little bit.
Just from people that you can
want people to be aware of it, to be alert for it, so that if you develop an unusual illness with fever and rash, then try to see your healthcare provider as soon as possible, just so that you can be checked. It's rarely fatal. In almost no cases is it fatal. It tends to resolve on its own in 2 to 3 weeks. But it still can make people quite sick sometimes, particularly if they have a low immune system.
So,
Damn, great start shooting
is there a
scores
vaccination for it, like
going live.
I mean, what should we do to prevent
I wish I could
ourselves
fast forward this call,
coming
but
into contact with
I still want to see whether she gets into my question on gun violence.
But they're not already answered.
Smallpox vaccine itself.
Well, she went into it, but they're supposed to answer people's questions.
There's always been concern that smallpox.
So I want to see whether they answer my question.
They're supposed to answer questions, but they never answer the questions. They dick around it.
Well, of course they're going to dick around it.
Most people,
It's like they're dicking around most people catching monkeypox right now, or people that are going to homosexual fucking sex parties.
So right now, since we don't have large numbers of vaccines, the vaccines
Maybe for women, but it doesn't sound like fun to me, unless it was with women.
We have actually found about 4 cases so far in Alabama. They're not connected to each other, and they're not.
Then I'd split it with
the state. They're actually from 4 different parts of the
It
state.
looks delicious.
Some of
It
those
does.
folks had traveled
Well,
out of
most
state
of them
where
do.
they might have picked it
Some
up,
of them
but
not so
some
much.
don't seem to have traveled, so they probably acquired it here. But at this time, there's no recommendations to routinely vaccinate people unless we know
Those are
someone who
sites
is
for my
exposed to an active
43.
case.
There we go.
Great, thank you so much. Ian, can we go to our listening audience for a question?
Sure thing. Quick reminder to
Uh-huh.
those on the line, if you want to get email updates from Congresswoman
Can't
Sewell,
show it on
press
live, right?
Give us your best email and sure for office. Keep you updated in the future. First question is coming from Gilda in Fairfield, who asked, what boosters
You don't
are
have any
recommended
blue
for
lock
people
right
who
here,
took
do
the
you?
J&J vaccine?
It's where is my blue lock
Dr.
at?
Harris?
Sure. So if
Can
you
you
took the J&J
see my hands
vaccine,
at all?
then you can get a
No.
booster with any of the other products that are
Actually,
available,
where is
with
my blue
Pfizer
lock
or
at?
Moderna.
It's no big deal.
Really can start taking that as soon as 2 months after you completed your J&J vaccine.
Yeah, I've got a big bottle of blue lock.
Vaccine that's,
Oh,
just been
here. You guys listen to that bullshit. Let me go find some more.
authorized by FDA and CDC is going to put out more information on that probably later tonight. It's a different vaccine product that's called Novavax, and that also can be used as a booster. So if you receive J&J, any vaccine that you find at any vaccination site would be appropriate for you to receive as a booster.
Great question. Next, Ian?
Sure thing. Our next one's coming from a couple of callers. We have Priscilla in Birmingham who's asking what's going to be done about the security issues in schools. And Minister Sherry Banks in Siles is asking what are they going to do to keep kids safe in school. She worked at schools for 18 years.
Great. Dr. Sibley, can you help us with that question?
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, it is our highest priority to make sure that our students are kept safe in school. And we definitely encourage
Here's
students
an
to
idea.
be, again, vigilant, be
Shoot
mindful.
back.
If you talk to one another, you hear things that aren't right, let someone know in terms of physical structures. There are school systems who are administering
You're shooting at us. You're shooting at us.
safety
Shoot
doors,
back.
different safety
Shoot
apparatus that make the school more safe. The largest thing that we're doing, I think, across the state again is making sure that we have mental health experts in our
Take it easy, Murph.
talk to our students to counsel them when they're going through different things. We often see some of the people perpetrate some of these crimes are
Didn't
students
you
of the
lose
school
the front side?
themselves.
Mhm.
So not to put
You want
anyone
these?
on a
No, because I
alert or
replaced.
anything,
Well, I
but
mean,
make
save
sure that
them.
people are
Well, obviously, yeah. But, I mean,
But no, I replaced those sites
say something.
with
So
some
there are
tritium sites.
physical requirements that are going on.
Oh,
throughout
you already
schools.
did.
There are a lot
Mhm.
of schools who have SROs, the school resource officers that we see, essentially police officers that are.
Yeah, those are the sites on my
funding for more school systems.
117.
SROs. It is also important to note that a lot of school systems hire police straight from the local municipalities that work around
fucking
in
back.
school events as well. They may not be technically SROs, but they're local police officers who essentially serve the same purpose. So there's an increase in funds available for that type of physical safety as well. But it's up to all of us to make sure that our schools are kept as safe as possible.
shoot back.
several callers that want to know about career opportunities. So Scarlett, can you talk to us about how, I know that you said that there were lots of career centers around, but where can a person go to actually find out information about a career center near them? And then can you also talk to us about, how hard is it to get skills in one of these high demanding new job areas? How hard
That's
is that?
the new trigger I put on that one.
I thought you couldn't show nothing.
I'm just showing the frame. This is a firearm component. This is not a firearm.
This is
Of course,
shit that
the
doesn't work.
aluminum mag well. I had to take it out a little bit so it would work with a mag, so I got to repaint it. But
Well, here, this is shit. It doesn't fucking work.
jobs in that area or in the
It
state,
makes a plastic
depending
suction.
on what the individual, where the individual is
see,
I mean, it will
trying
work.
to get employment.
let me see it.
We try
You
to
break the
make
damn thing.
the WIA process as smooth as possible. There are some things that need to be done, and then we have to do eligibility and testing. But I just encourage anyone who's
Get better one.
interested in furthering their education, getting credentials that are needed to get some of those jobs, to just go visit
Oh,
your
those
career
sights are
center,
too tall for it.
career center, and find the case manager
Well, it's not
who's
just that. I mean, you
I
can
take
kind of
pictures
sort of
of,
fiddle it in there where it's touching
passionate
it on the edge.
about
But
helping
it's,
others. So just
You
develop
can
a
turn it and
relationship
it
with a
bends
case
the-
manager in a local
the
career
screw.
center. I think that's just your best bet
and it's stupid plastic shit.
for getting the information that you need, or like I said, finding a training provider in your area. That would be my, you can get some information off the website, but that personal interaction is just can't. That website link, if you mind. Yeah, that's alabamawork.alabama.gov. Now, are these services, do they cost money? A couple of folks asked that question. No, absolutely not. All of our services are free, and I always tell customers who come in, if you have a question about any job you see anywhere, please ask us. If we don't know the answer, we'll find the answer. So we try to go that extra mile to help customers get on that career pathway that they're interested in.
My wife said my side tool wouldn't work. You push the side off.
Scarlett, we're going to have
It bent for me. I must have had it in my
at our
lap.
job fair to help folks on the spot with
Piece of shit.
resume building. And
Suppressor height sights for a 43. She didn't like them, so I put regular sights on.
Generally, and use.
I'm never gonna have a suppressor on the thing.
Resources available.
Says who?
Even at our job fair.
Says me?
And as I said, the job fair is Thursday, August 4th at Wallace
For the
Community
time
College.
being,
at
it
the
has become our EDC. So.
Ian, can you go to another caller?
Sure thing. We've got this one coming from John in Tuscaloosa, who says,
Come on, get to my
regarding
question.
a recent disclosure
There we
that
go,
the
your
U.S.
question.
Secret Service
They didn't get to my
text
question.
message relating to their
They
activities
may
on
not have
January
answered your
5th,
question, but they got to your
2020.
question.
I'm interested to see what Representative Sewell will be doing to support
Oh,
the
yeah.
January 6th
I love
committee
this thing.
to make sure the agents who were responsible are brought to account for that inappropriate
That's the slide
activity.
off of it.
I'm concerned if we don't do something that our democracy is going to be
Shit,
destroyed by
further.
Trump. and
Suppressor height sights,
those
Swamp
are the
Fox
secret
optic.
purposes from John in Tuscaloosa, Congressman.
Love this thing.
John, thank you so much for that question.
That's one of the ones I shot tonight. Since I put the new trigger on it, swapped out a couple other things.
Anyone who was a part of this January 6th insurrection is all I can call it. I was actually trapped in the upper gallery of the House of Representatives during the time, and I've never in my life been afraid in my workplace, but I was that day. And frankly, I think all of us
Poor widow feelings.
should want to get to the bottom of how it occurred, who was involved, and hold those players accountable. I also agree that we should make sure that no records are
Well,
destroyed
it was
in that
mostly
process.
peaceful.
I really want to give a hats off to my colleagues, Republican and Democrat, on the January 6th committee for their stalwart efforts in trying to get to the bottom of what occurred. It is about accountability, and it is about saving our democracy. We take a pledge when we become members of Congress.
Yeah, swamp butt.
And serve, but we also to protect
But so far,
enemies, both foreign and domestic. And I never thought in my lifetime
that slide's probably got
fellow
1,500 rounds on it. Racking it off the belt, racking it off of anything around me, and that optic has held up. It's held up really well.
The democracy that we in America have is the envy of the world. And if we do not get to the bottom of it, we will, I'm afraid, repeat itself. This could repeat itself. So we have to learn from what happened here and get to the bottom of it, whether it's making sure that our Secret Service records are not destroyed or holding.
I'm actually not even in her congressional district, by the way.
Highest levels of government, up to the highest levels of government, holding folks accountable. So thank you for your question. And I look forward to getting, working with the January 6th committee to get to the bottom of this so that it can never happen again.
Yes, I don't think so.
Thank you, Representative. We've got our next one coming to you from William and Seal, who asks, what do you plan to do about the rise in gun violence here in Alabama? That's from William.
Well, thanks for that question. It is a serious issue. As I said in my remarks, Alabama has the second highest rate of gun violence. And this is not about punishing responsible gun owners. This is really about addressing a serious need of population to the access of guns in the hands of people who shouldn't have it. And I think that we should do everything we can. It's not enough that we as members of Congress, after every mass shooting, say that the families are in our thoughts and prayers and not do anything about it. And so while I did vote in favor of several more aggressive bills that were common sense measures that didn't go anywhere, I am proud of the fact that this president, the Senate, and the House came together in a bipartisan manner and did pass legislation, finally, the first piece of legislation that addresses gun violence in 3 decades. Does it go far enough? Is it robust enough? No. But it is a step in the right direction, and it is providing resources for both mental illness. It does close the loophole for domestic violence offenders. It is a step in the right direction. I think that all of us can do our part.
Domestic violence. That's not your
But
question.
we as legislators have to act. We can't simply provide our thoughts and prayers. We must do something about it. And the bipartisan Gun Violence Act is a step in the right direction, and I look forward to continuing to work to try to secure our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you to William for that question. We've got one coming from Jamil up next in West End of Birmingham. But real quick, we have 10 minutes left. If you want to get email updates from
Thank you for not answering it.
Press 7 now. Get us your best email so we can keep you updated. Again, we're going to end in about 10 minutes here. So if you want to get email updates, now's your last opportunity to press 7. Get us that email address. Jamil at Birmingham asks, are there any initiatives out right now to address bullying in schools? Can you take that one on, please, Congresswoman?
That's a great question. Dr. Sibley, can you address, once again, in the name of dealing with violence or safety in schools, what we're trying to do to address bullying in schools?
Absolutely, Congresswoman. This is a very important issue because we know that
you better need a set of suppressor height sights for a Glock 43.
Schools are an outgrowth of bullying that happens. Our prevention and support department within the State Department of Education deals with bullying specifically. If
For the
you
site?
were to go to our website at
For the real site?
alabamaissues.org
Yeah.
and go to our prevention and support department, there's a link there.
Look in that box. There might,
Resources that
if you
will
can't
there
find one there, look in that box, and there should be one in a plastic bag.
Prevent and or identify and tell someone about bullying in our state. It's not fun. It's not funny. It will not be tolerated in our state. We're huge on making sure that students feel comfortable. It is our responsibility to provide them an environment that is conducive to learning.
Dude, that Walther PDP would be badass.
At every turn. So that website.
I got to try out some Hollison stuff.
Provides plenty of resources to deal with bullying, and our prevention and support department does as well.
I see that several of our listeners asked about the historic preservation grants and how their churches and other historic places can get them. I just want you to know that you can apply. It is an annual application.
I'm just waiting for Night Strike to come on. I want to see whether they answer any more things about gun violence.
Whether that's for historic preservation places.
And then I'm going to bounce over to Night Strike.
Historic preservation of civil rights sites on the campus of HBCUs and college campuses around the country. Please call my office. I have an amazing grant coordinator, Yolanda Clayton, and she's available in our Birmingham office. The Birmingham office number is 205-254-1960. Nothing brings me more joy than to be able to provide more federal resources directly to folks in our district.
Nothing brings me more joy than wasting more of your tax dollars.
Economic revitalization, especially in underserved communities. Being able to protect these amazing sites of important civil rights places, but also be able to attract more tourism and provide
again, YouTube, not a gun.
Opportunities for economic opportunities for these communities. This is a win-win when we do historic preservation. So thank you for the question regarding historic preservation.
And you're freaking cat today.
Yeah, thank you again, Representative. We are unfortunately
You know who I'm talking about.
For everybody who is on with us, if you missed that,
Trying to do videos, and he's got to crawl up in my shoulder, needing a hug.
254-60, or you can go to
You get site tight now.
sewell.gov. And we are out of time. We got about 5 minutes here left for some closing comments from you, Representative Sewell, and I believe another prayer from Apostle Hill. And I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, dude, I gotta check out that Chevron. If I need to get one for my wife, because well, that's for astigmatism, but my wife is like red colorblind, so like if I buy her a red dot, I try to get it in green, or if I buy her sights, I get them in green. But somehow red colorblind translates into not seeing fat boys, so apparently she thinks I'm attractive, so I can deal with it.
For helping facilitate this. He does a great job of helping to facilitate this. And I want to thank my amazing staff for always working so hard on behalf of Alabama 7th Congressional District to better serve you. Before we close, I want to mention one more thing. This past week, I had the great honor of watching President Biden award the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Attorney Fred Gray Sr. Attorney Gray is a true American hero, having represented the likes of Rosa Parks.
He's a true American hero.
I'm killing that. There's only so much I can fucking take. I'm getting messages from a bunch of my buddies right now. I didn't get a gator tag. Didn't get a gator tag. Yeah, I didn't get mine this year either. She got hers.
I got mine. Kiss my ass, bitches.
So I'm messaging a buddy back. So my phone's probably gonna be blowing up for the next week or so with people wanting to gator hunt. So anyway, guys. Oh shit, fire. Yeah, that wasn't, which neither one of those streams was planned today. Not the one before and not this one. I was just sitting there and got a call from Birmingham, was like, oh gee, what's this call from Birmingham? And it ends up being this virtual or phone town hall. And trust me, it's not like I'm voting for this chick whatsoever. Like I said, I actually think that I don't think I'm in her district for the House. I think the only reason that I'm on her like call list is for a lot of the letters that I wrote about this gun control stuff with the ATF, because I sent it out to every freaking senator from Alabama and called every senator in Alabama and every House member. So that's probably why I got that call. So is what it is. Life's interesting these days. But it's okay, so she put those in there. But like I said before, these numbnuts in the House are already going to pass an assault weapons bill. They're supposed to mark it up tomorrow. So I'll be doing some videos on that as soon as as soon as I get home tomorrow. So I'll pick my son up from the babysitter, get home. I've got some other shit I got to do. I'm going to try to take care of earlier in the day. And I'll be doing a video on this assault weapons ban they're going to try to push through, which they'll get it through the House without an issue. The backstop is the Senate, but you can look for these idiots to abolish the filibuster before the elections in November. I will be absolutely amazed if they don't abolish the filibuster within the next few weeks, actually, the next couple weeks.
Your son.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yours. Your son.
So anyway, I'm going to end this one, perps. I'm going to chill out for a couple, and then I will see you guys probably in Night Strikes chat. So you guys take them easy, man. And I am out for right now. Love you. Mean it.